This is Stronger Than My Father with Marcus Menace.
Welcome to another episode of Stronger Than My Father podcast. I am your host, Marcus Menace. I am truly excited to delve into another world of fatherhood. Man, I have to give a special shout out to my producer, Mr. Jim McCarthy. Allow me to shoot at his wonderful studio out here at Thompson Station. So thank you, Jim, for giving me the opportunity to shoot at this wonderful studio. Also, our podcast is sponsored by those who support our organization and helping us continue to spread the word and find ways to impact the fatherless. So I'm really excited to bring another episode. I think this is episode 18. So today is, I found a very good friend of mine who I met about a month or so ago, who everybody told me, Mark, you got to do a podcast with him, man. They say his story is amazing, how he's overcome so much and to get to where he's at today. So I'm going to welcome my guest today, Mr. Dustin Mohammed. Welcome to Stronger Than My Father podcast.
Yes, sir. Most definitely. Thank you guys for having me on.
All right, man, let's go ahead and delve into your story. As I told you, I grew up, people say very privileged, had a great father, great mother. So my story is a little bit different from yours. But for my audience who don't know who you are, tell them where you're from, a little bit about your story, and then we're going to delve into how you was able to overcome so much to get to where you are today.
So I'm originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. Born in 1989. And actually I was born in a women's prison.
Wow, I didn't know that part. Oh, okay.
My mom, she was doing her thing in the streets at the time and living that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Ended up having me in the prison. So from there, actually, I met my godmom met me.
Okay.
My mom had left me over at one of her friend's house, which was my godmom's sister. Mm-hmm. She comes in the house and said, whose baby is this? And I'm like 6 months in a room crying, and she took me home.
Okay.
And from there, my mom she raised me a little bit, my godmom. My mom ended up getting me back. So I'm back and forth between her and godmom. And from age 3 to 6, I was with godmom. Mm-hmm. Took good care of me and stuff like that. Then I ended up going with grandma in Memphis, Tennessee.
Okay.
6 years old. That was 96. So I'm with her from 6 to 12. And going through that whole process, being raised by grandma and granddad, and that was special. Thinking back in hindsight, but at the time when you're going through it, you being raised by your grandparents, so they older.
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
They can't make it to the games.
Yeah,
y'all not going to theme parks and stuff like that, and you just get a different piece of life when you're raised by your grandparents.
Wow.
Right, the house is always quiet.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always clean.
Yeah.
So. From there, at 12 years old, mom came back to get me.
Okay.
When she was forced to. I was kind of getting a little older. Mm-hmm. I was never a problem kid, but I was disturbed. I had questions.
Okay. So
mom was battling addiction the whole time. Yeah. So I'm asking grandma what's going on, and she got to come get you. And,
yeah.
She came back to Memphis to get me, took me back over north to Milwaukee, and me and her I went to a group home first. She dropped me off at a group home. We stayed with her friend. Mm-hmm. From there, we got an apartment, and then we lived together for about a year until she passed away. She had a heart attack in the apartment. So,
okay.
Yeah.
That was your mom?
My mom, yeah.
Oh, your mom. Wow. Mm. Let me ask you this, because I want to get back to that. Is that from that childhood age, did you ever ask, where's my dad at?
Always.
Do you believe, and I've told people that most young kids know in their mind they have a daddy.
Yeah.
And so I believe that's ingrained in kids by God. That's just my honest opinion. But when you was asking those questions as a child, what answers did you get in return? Like when you say, where's my father at? What answer did you get in return of that?
For one, grandma and my mom didn't get along.
Okay.
My mom got pregnant early, like 16.
Okay.
14, 15. So you can imagine you got this woman.
Yeah.
Her daughter's pregnant.
Yeah.
And she was like, there's only one grown woman in this house. So she put my mom's out early.
Wow.
Right. So they didn't get along. So I'm asking my grandma, what about my dad? She don't know. I don't know. You know.
How did it affect you? Because if you know, from all the advocate work you've done, kids growing up without fathers, how did that affect you? Because I have an undergraduate psychology, so I'm going to ask you psychology questions. How did that make you feel growing up when they say you didn't know? Did you just act like, okay, he don't exist? Or did you grow up with any kind of anger or anything like that kind of like push, like, man, I'm really mad my dad's not there?
More so, you don't have a sense of self when you don't know who your dad is. You don't understand who you are. You don't have. I lacked confidence.
Okay.
A lot. I lacked a lot of self-esteem because I didn't know who he was. For him to be able to instill in me who I am.
Okay.
And when I moved to Milwaukee, it was a lot of. It sounds weird looking at other guys and wondering, is that my dad?
Dang.
It sounds strange, right? Like,
yeah, I've heard people say that where you be looking around and wondering, is that my father? Because I know that's ingrained in kids. It's a kid that I mentoring, keep asking his mom, where's my dad at? Because I think when I see other kids at school have their dad, these kids are wondering that. And when there is a missing piece, I believe that anger usually comes in. Now, we had a guest on a couple of podcasts ago, and you can tell me if you agree with this. He said most kids who grow without a father has a hole in their heart.
Yeah.
And that hole has to be filled with something. And usually it get it filled with something good or something bad. And I had to wonder, like, why are more kids doing crime?
Luckily for me, grandma was a good foundation. So when I latched on to other dudes, they were responsible dudes.
Okay.
They weren't knuckleheads.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I always hung around older dudes.
Yeah.
That was me.
Yeah. So how did you avoid like gangs and stuff like that come, or did you get involved, or how did you stay away from, because that's what usually attract young black males is gangs, because they call it alternative families, because young men are looking for somebody to validate them. They look for somebody to show them that kind of love and respect. So how did you avoid that growing up?
Grandma being the foundation, the anchor. Right.
So did grandfather do a lot?
And granddad too. Okay. But he was more so like your dad. He wasn't a talker like that.
Yeah.
And I just used to watch him. And he would talk to me and tell me he loved me all the time.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I remember about him. Just always tell, I love you, Dustin. I love you. I love you.
Yeah. And I think, do you feel like that was just kind of that replacement?
Yeah.
But you still long for your dad, but was that kind of like just, kind of like Neosporin, it's kind of like just that substance to hold you together for right now?
It held me together for then at the time.
Okay, that's what I wanted to see.
So to the point where I'm outside, and we grew up in the hood. The house was in the hood.
Yeah.
But I'm not gravitating towards the buffoonery, if you will,
Well, that's so important, because when you have a foundation, my dad work ethics kept me from gangs and stuff like that. And he told me one quote when I was young. He said, don't be a follower, always be a leader. So I didn't gravitate to people who was acting up, mainly because I had my dad. But back to your story, I know you said you grew up in the foster system. How did that come about, you growing up in the foster system, and how did that have any effect on you even to today?
So remember I told you mom came to get me at 12.
Yeah.
She said, we're going back up here. When she passed away, I went back with godmom.
Okay.
That was 13. That was 03 until like 05, 04.
Okay.
So me and her lived together for about a year, me and godmom, and she was doing what she could. But I was disturbed. I had just lost my mom, and I'm 13, 14 years old.
Wow, I had to be alive.
So I'm not doing nothing in school at the time. I don't know what's going on. I'm a 13-year-old.
Yeah.
She was like, I just can't do it. I just can't give you what you need right now. She called a caseworker. They came up to the house, put all my stuff on the car. Now I'm in the group home. So I'm 13 in a group home. I'm in there with other guys, other young guys that's in the group home, and staff in there, and I'm living. I'm there.
Yeah.
Right. From there, they put you in a foster home. They usually have 14 days to place you.
Okay.
So I go to the foster home, and I'm never a problem kid. Like literally, I didn't give nobody no problems.
Okay.
Go to the foster lady, and I'm there until 16, 17, actually 16. So from 14 to 16, I'm living with her in Milwaukee. Okay. She's treating us good. Everything is cool. It's other guys in the house, about 4 other young men in the house.
Okay.
But you just don't get, it's not normal.
Okay.
It's not. You got an older foster lady. She's not mistreating us, but it's not normal at the same time. When you're 14, 15, you want to talk on the phone to your girlfriend.
Yeah.
You want to go to the movies.
Yeah.
And we don't have the money. She's not giving us the money to do that.
Okay.
Right? You want a new pair of shoes every once in a while, some new clothes. You want to, go take your girl to the movies, stuff like that. That you don't, that type of stuff don't happen in the foster homes.
How did it have an effect? Like, because that's through your teenage years. So how did that have an effect? Were you more rebellious? Were you more mad? Did you still have a longing for your father? Did he ever come try to get you when you was in the foster?
At the time, his family found me in 2003.
Okay.
So I'm 13 while I'm living with my godmom. They discovered me. He's incarcerated.
Okay.
So as I'm in the foster home, I'm writing him letters.
Yeah.
Right? He's writing me. He's incarcerated. We're going to visit him. His sister, which is my aunt, she's taking us up north. Okay. In rural Wisconsin to these prisons to go visit him. And that, I think that messed me up a lot.
Wow. So basically the first time you saw your father he was incarcerated.
First time I saw him was at a custody hearing at the Bureau in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And he came out in an orange jumpsuit and in shackles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what kind of effect did that have on you as a child seeing your dad? Because I can imagine seeing my dad for the first time in shackles and stuff like that. What kind of effect did that really have? Were you mad, crying, sad? Because for a black child, black young man who had to see that, because that should never happen. And like I said, I grew up in a world where I didn't know this stuff existed until I got older. But for you seeing that for the first time, how did it have a major effect on you?
I'm visual, right? So I remember sitting there. I got the public defender next to me. He's telling me, "Look, we're here for you, Dustin." And sitting there, and I was watching my dad come out the back in these shackles. Mm-hmm. You don't know what to think. You're 13. You don't even know how to process it.
Wow.
Right. And so then time moves on. I'm writing him letters. I'm getting older, 15, 16 at the time. Going through these changes at school. Mm-hmm. Nobody's coming to the games. Nobody's showing up to parent-teacher conferences. And after a while, you start to lose track. And at 16, I just dropped out all the way. Mm-hmm. Dropped out of school.
Now, I didn't know that. I knew you dropped out of school.
Yeah.
So how did you, from there, that decision came because you felt like no one cared?
Yep.
And you just said, hey, I'm done.
I'm a teenager. Nobody's holding me accountable. Nobody's showing up to the games, but I'm playing.
What, football?
Basketball.
Okay. I don't know your height. I'm not thinking basketball. Okay.
Nobody's coming. So then at some point, you like, man, I got to get some money. I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Foster lady not giving you, the little extras that you need to be a teenager. Mm-hmm. So I'm finna go get a job. And that's what I did.
So just dropped out of school, get a job.
Yeah, I was never like the street dude, the street kid. I just said, you know what, right. I'm going to go to work.
Yeah. And that came from your grandparents. I feel like they gave you that work ethic in you to work. Yeah. So dropping out of high school and moving forward now, how did you adjust from dropping out and trying to, because now I feel like you want to be a man. So did you leave the foster care system after you dropped out of school? Did you stay there and try to find your own place? What happened after that?
It was a whole process. So in foster care, you age out at 18 years old.
Yeah.
I'm 17. I'm working. I'm not going to school, though.
Yeah.
My aunt, my caseworker, actually, she started calling family members in Memphis. Because mind you, at the time, we were in Milwaukee. She was like, look, I got to get you out of here. You a good kid. I don't want to lose you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm good. I'm working. She like, you don't have a high school diploma. And you 16, 17 years old.
Yeah.
So she started calling family members around in Memphis. Mm-hmm. Family members not calling her back, not answering the phone. And I get it. Like, I was a big teenager. I, ate a lot. It cost.
Yeah.
And I had one aunt, Aunt Cheryl, she said, yeah, I'll take them. I'm 17. And she called and the Bureau bought a flight from Milwaukee to Memphis. And I went down there. My dad got out in 2007.
Okay.
So I'm still there. Me and him actually we had a fight.
Oh, heck, that's a whole nother story then.
So he just got out maybe 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I'm living with him at the halfway house that he's at.
Oh,
while
wow.
I'm still going to work.
Yeah.
And because we don't know each other like that, we had words.
Yeah.
And he got me pretty good, you know.
Well, you know, I've seen where, and I've heard stories of in the other previous podcasts where dads and sons fight. Never had that because I was too afraid of my dad to go toe to toe with him. From that teenage years to adulthood now, how was your development going into now your older years? How was your development? How did you find a way to make it? Because I'm assuming you've never been to jail, right? Never. So you're a rare case of kids not getting lost in the system, not going to drugs and violence, not going out here robbing and stealing. How did you develop into adulthood and your life moving forward now?
Hanging on to people that I knew were had my best interest at heart.
Okay.
For instance, if I would have met you at 18, I would have been one of those young guys under you.
I appreciate that.
You know, and it was just that hanging on to different teachers at school, knowing that they had my best interest.
Well, but I forgot to ask, one question I forgot to ask is that I didn't know if your father, he's still living? He's still living?
Yeah, he's still living.
Okay. Do you have a relationship with him now or just
we talk every day.
Every day. So from that altercation you had with your dad, did y'all even talk about that? Or
we talked about it, and he asked me, "Does why?" Because my aunt was like, "No, I'm pressing charges," and I was like, "Nah, just let it go."
Yeah.
And he asked me like, "Does why why was it so easy for you to let that go?" And I was like, "I don't know." And he got me good. Like he got me good. Mm-hmm. At the time, I used to wear these bike chains, wallet chains.
Yeah.
And somehow the wallet chain got wrapped around his fist, and he just got out, so he big. He got me on the ground. And he beat me down real good, and my face was all messed up. So I'm getting on the flight the next day going down to Memphis, and my aunt is like, I said, "Nah, we just let it go."
Yeah, well, I mean, I number one, I'm glad you have a relationship with him because even though you didn't grow up with him, every man wants a relationship with his father. I'm 46 years old, and I value my relationship with my father, even now. You know, I call him probably once a week, just see how he's doing, just to hear his voice, because as years go on, eventually daddy's going to be gone. And I want to soak up everything I can from my father while God's blessing him to be on this earth. But now you're in adulthood. You went back and got your GED, I assume.
No, actually, I graduated. I got a football scholarship. My aunt was like,
"Oh, wow. Okay. So look, cool.
That's what happened. I got there at 17 with my aunt in Memphis.
Okay.
She took me to enroll in school, but I'm 17 with 6 credits. 6. And she was like, "Son, what was you doing?" I said, I was working.
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, you want your GED, you want your high school diploma?" And I said, "High school diploma."
Oh, cool.
So I did 2 years of summer school. I ended up graduating at 19 years old.
Okay.
And that took some work, man. Discipline at that age.
Yeah.
And I ended up graduating and got a football scholarship.
Where'd you go to? What school?
William Penn University. It's in Iowa.
Oh, okay. So you played football there. Mm-hmm. And did you go ahead and complete school and all that there?
I finished my undergrad there. Then I moved to California and got my master's at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Oh, hey, we on the same level. Master's. So now, I knew from your story that you like to be a youth advocate. Mainly you trying to find a way to give back, help other kids. And like I said, I really appreciate you coming to our mentor sessions. That really mean a lot to me, to give back to young men who don't have that solid father figure. Some young men can relate to you. Because they understand your story. Me, I'm just more of a advocate. I believe that fatherhood matters, and I want to push kids. And I feel like when we was had our pre-talk, why am I doing this? Is that because I care, And I don't know what it feels to go without a father, but I care enough about you for you can have a shot at this life and make it. Because I see so many young men going to jail, going to juvie, when you don't have to go there. And from your story, from learning for the first time, you had some foundation, but you had to go through a lot of obstacles to get to that journey where you at now. So now in your life now, how do you feel? I know you're a newly father. How does that feel now for everything you went through on trying to raise your own child? And what foundations do you have that First of all, I feel like you found a way to break the cycle. And you know my cliche is that the cycle has to end with somebody. So now as a father, what can you do better than your father that you have now?
I just want to intensify what I do to break this cycle.
Okay.
And for me, and my thing, I think it's education.
Okay.
I think getting my doctorate now, like when he got here, it was just like, before he got here, I was already driven and intense.
Okay.
But when he got here, it was like, okay, you got to strategize a lot more.
Yeah.
To break this cycle even more.
Yeah.
Right. So I figure if I can get a doctorate, the least he can do is get his high school diploma.
Yeah.
That's just how I think about it.
Well, I think that, you want to find every kind of avenue to break the cycle. I think that you want your children to go farther than you in life. And I told myself, I have 2 boys. You see my boys. My father told me the same thing. Because when he heard word name Stronger Than My Father, he was like, so what you trying to say? And I says, well, it's not up against you. But then my dad looked back at me. He said, I want you to go farther than me in life, son. I want you to have more things than me. My dad didn't go to college. I did. But I would still say my dad's way more wise than I am, more smarter than me. But my father wanted to see me do more. And I want to see my sons go way farther than me in life. I don't know what kind of education. I don't know what God has for them. I just want to see them do more than me. And all I want to teach them is to find a way to give back in some kind of way. And my sons are kind of growing up privileged. You have mom and dad in the same home. So they kind of live in the same way I live. But for you, what do you want to teach your son that's going to help his development and growth? And when you see your son, you hold him, what do you first of all think in your mind? Because you had a great story growing up. But what do you see when you see your son, you holding him? What do you see?
For me, it's tenacity.
Okay.
Right? 'Cause life going to throw curveballs. It's going to hit you with a left hook.
Yeah.
Right hook.
I agree with that.
3-piece. And for me, it's tenacity.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever's going to happen, you're going to go through it. And I'm determined to outdo on the other end whatever just happened to me.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the main thing.
Because when I look at my boys, I always say, it's another version of me. And I have to do what I have to do for them to make it. My decisions, and I tell people this, your decision making affects them. Every decision you make affects your children. So every day I wake up and I work and do things, I always think, is this decision going to affect them long term? So the way I live, the way I move, is always thinking about my boys. Kind of my father did the same thing. He said, my work ethics rubbed off on us. We work. So we was laughing about the things my dad had us doing growing up. Those same work ethics I want to put in my boys. Now, my wife said I can't take them to the tobacco field where I grew up at. She said, you better not do that. But I would love to take them out and go chop wood and stuff. Because this is how I grew up. With a father who put that work ethic in me. So when I see them, I want them to know that, life ain't going to be fair. It's not going to be easy, but you're going to be able to have work ethic in you where you're going to have to work. And ain't going to be no laziness in my house. So that's why when I'm up on Saturday mornings, day up. It ain't no long time sleeping to 9, 10 o'clock. You got to get up. And so that's why when you see us going on mental outings, you see my 2 kids there. They ain't going to sit at home and relax. So I'm not going to do that. But now, as we getting close to conclude this podcast, at your age now, how do you feel about fatherhood, manhood, and what changes you want to make moving forward to affect kids who probably had your similar story?
I feel like fatherhood is it's all about it daily getting better at what you do and how you do it. What I put in my body, what I eat, what I think, what I read. Wow. Especially now that he's here. Okay. I want him to see me reading. I'm a big reader. Yeah. Right. I want him to see that. I want him to see me eating right. I'm a vegan. I don't eat meat or dairy. Okay. Right? I want him to see that and understand that, live that lifestyle, just a clean lifestyle. My approach towards everything. Okay. So, and as far as what I want to get better is just staying on an even keel.
Okay.
Because life is always ups and downs. It's a pulse, right? And I want to get better at staying even when things not going my way. So
that was the things you want to kind of input in yourself so your son can see that. Because I tell people all the time that everything you do, your kids are watching you. Every move you make, your kids are watching you. I didn't even realize that my oldest son watches me a whole lot more than my youngest. And I remember last year when I was out networking, my son wanted to come with me. And I'm like, no, daddy busy, I'm working. And one day I left him at home and he started crying. And my wife said, you know your son's crying because he wants to spend time with you. And from there, I made sure I never left him again. So when people see photos of me, when we had our tie ceremony, that photo there, my son wanted to be beside me. I didn't push him away and say, hey, daddy on TV, move out the way. If I'm on TV and my son want to be beside me, he going to be beside me. Because I don't want him to say anything negative saying that I did not take out time for him. And that's why I think with you being a new dad, always be there for your kid so he don't go through the same pain you felt. Definitely. And that's one thing I encourage you to do. Because like I said, relationships with women, it goes up and down. But at the end of the day, you are a dad and you don't want your son to repeat any kind of cycles that you're trying to break from. So I really, truly am amazed by your story. Because number one, most kids in your situations don't make it. Going from foster systems and everything you endured, they end up in the streets. They end up becoming gang members or doing other negative things I've seen. And so that's why your story is amazing, because you find a way to make it. But, you know, you had some great people that imported into your life. And I think from kids growing up without a father, and that's why I believe mentoring is so important, is trying to be that father figure. And I tell kids, I'm not your dad, but I want to make you feel like close enough that I am. That's why I call my mentoring program Stronger Sons. So I can tell these kids, hey, you just like a son to me. So when I go to the schools and see some of the kids that's in our program, they be like, who daddy is that? Who daddy is that? And so these kids long for that. And I just want to, number one, admonish you for what you're doing, how you continue to fight, because you found the way to make it. And I want to, applaud you on that you found the way to make it. So any final words you want to say for my guests that's listening, about your story, how you made it, and being a father?
That was all, man. Just being tenacious about my approach. Playing football. Football got me through a lot, especially through undergrad. Yeah. Right? Football was life for me at that time. And, I do watch you. I be around you, and I watch you closely. So I appreciate that, man. Same thing.
I got to do right then. You watching me. I can't be acting crazy, man. Because I'm crazy from time to time, man. They say, Mark, crazy, wild. But I never know who's watching you. I never know who's watching you, who's watching your life. So that's why I do my best and hard to live the cleanest life I can. Try to do right, because I never know who's watching me and watching what I'm doing. And one thing you said when we was on our way to do this podcast, and I want you to answer this question. Why did you say, because I grew up in a 2-parent home, why do you feel like this is my last question, we'll close this podcast out. Why do you feel it's unusual for what I'm doing? Because I grew up in a 2-parent home, but I care about the fathers. Why do you think that's something that's not normal?
Most of the time you see people that haven't gone through maybe the things that I've gone through per se, they live in a bubble, right?
That's what I really want to do, but I can't. Yeah. I can't live in a bubble, man.
And by you not having to experience any of the traumas or the dysfunctionalities that some of the urban inner city kids go through, and for you to have that passion and that tenacity that you do to help them out of that situation, it's rare. Okay. Because most of them people, they live in a bubble, right?
Well, you say like they don't care about other people. They just want to.
It's not that they don't care. They don't know what it feels like, so it doesn't affect them on a day-to-day basis. When I go to these schools and I see these kids, I see the kids fighting or the young guys fighting, I know where it's coming from. Yeah. right? Because I felt that. I lived it.
So what do you think most of it comes from?
Frustration and anger, not knowing who you are.
Because
when there's no food in the cabinets at home, you're frustrated.
I never experienced that. Yeah. I never experienced that. Because here's the thing I say is that when there's no food, I always say it's the dad's fault. When there's no food in the home, it's dad. Because the father is supposed to be the provider. My job is to provide for my family. My wife's job is to be a nurturer. And a lot of people don't realize that. And that's why you have a lot of dysfunctionality. People roles are reversed. If my kids are hungry, that's my fault. And I say education is both of us. But I appreciate that. And I told you on the ride here is that I don't know why. I believe it's God has a calling upon my life to serve the fathers, because I feel sorry. And I feel bad that you have to go through that. And I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair that your father wasn't in your life and to give you tools that you need to have to make it. And I don't think it's right. So Dr. King said, when you find a cause that you don't feel like it's right, you need to do something. So that's what Strong in My Father is here for, is because something needs to be done. I want to be an advocate either through voice or through my actions. As you see me, you've been on a couple of mentor outings with me. I'm the same all the time. Mm-hmm. And I care about my boys. I care about them. I can't do everything for you, but I care a lot about you. So you end up finishing up high school, and now you're starting college. So let my audience know a little bit about your college experience, how you was able to make it through, the emotions that you have to have going into college, growing without a father. How did you make it through?
Oh, man. So let's see. I went to Mississippi Junior College, Itawamba Community College at first.
Okay.
My grades was so jacked up. My transcripts was bad. And I had schools recruiting me. I had Oklahoma State, MT, Liberty. They were all looking at me to play football, but my transcripts were just terrible. So I went to Itawamba Community College in Fulton, Mississippi first. Mm-hmm. From there, I ended up getting looked at by the school in Iowa, William Penn University.
Okay.
Coach came down there to get me. So he came to Fulton. He said, hey, the school is in Iowa. This is what it is. Cornfields, things like that. It's cold. And I said, cool, let's go.
Yeah.
And I went up there. He got me up there, started camp. And from there, I started my undergrad journey.
What position did you play in college? I forget to ask that.
Defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle. I was going to figure it out. I was going to see the end or tackle. So how was that experience of all you went through, all you endured? How was just that experience of going through college and graduating and getting through?
It took a while for me to find myself and find my niche in college.
Okay.
Because again, I'm dealing with the after effects of not having my pops.
Yeah.
So you really don't have much confidence.
Okay.
And that came from playing on the field. My confidence, my self-confidence came from that. Mm-hmm. So my identity and who I was wrapped up in football.
Okay.
Because I didn't have him.
Okay.
All right. So you walking around campus, and I will say if it wasn't for football, I probably wouldn't have stayed.
Okay.
You know, so I get there freshman year, sophomore year, I'm balling out, enjoying myself. Practices are long. Monday, you don't have any downtime.
Yeah.
Get out of class, you got to go right to the training room, right to stretch practice, and then that's Saturdays the game days.
Yeah.
Sunday is film, and that we did that for 4 years.
Did that help with discipline? Not to get into a lot of, because you see some college kids getting in a lot of trouble. Did that help you with discipline? Or were you one of the kind of wild college kids out there?
No, sir. It wasn't wild at all. The thing about me is I had already seen enough life before I got to college.
Wow.
That when I got there, I was like, I'm cool. Y'all give me somewhere to eat and a bed.
Yeah.
I got a video game. I'm going to go to class. I was always in class. I was always at practice. Other than that, I'm good. So
you had a focused mindset because you've seen so much in life. Mm-hmm. So when you graduated, where did you do your master's at? And did you? Let me ask you this, because you know, good sized guy. Did you ever try to look at going to NFL or anything?
I did. I tried out for the Edmonton, the Canada team, Canadian Football League.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I did that in LA. I tried out, and then it didn't come to fruition.
Oh, okay. So you accepted that that, hey,
it hurt at first.
Yeah.
Because for the last 4 years, this is all you do every day. It's conditioning, working on your craft, coming out your stance, hand placement on the offensive lineman. You do that 4 years.
Yeah.
And once he came to a stop, I was like, okay, I got to figure something out.
So you had to have a plan B moving forward.
And because I had been doing that the last 4 years, I didn't have any like skills. My resume, I didn't know how to build my resume.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to do a what do you call it? I didn't know how to do a job application almost. Interviews. I didn't have any interview skills.
Did college they didn't prepare you for that in school or anything?
Nah, I would say
that's kind of and that's one thing that I did have some effects of trying to prepare for life. You go to college and you get your degrees and everything, but preparing you for life after that is always, I think schools, could do a better job. And they're probably doing it better. I've been out of college for years now. But I had to develop that skill to how to prepare on how to be able to live and stuff like that after you get your degrees. Because it's cool to get them, but then when you walk across the stage, now what?
I knew all about my major.
Okay.
Right, which was strength and conditioning with a undergrad with a minor in psychology. So in terms of the books and my major, I knew it like the back of my hand. But knowing how to interview, my resume, I struggled. Yeah. So
what made you go to LA? Because LA is a big city to go to college, and I'm intrigued about what made you want to go to LA to pursue your master's.
Actually, the young lady that I was with at the time, she was from California.
Okay.
I had met her in Iowa at William Penn University.
Okay.
And she had taken me back home with her a couple times.
Yeah.
So when I got out there and I saw the water and I saw just California, I was like, yeah, this is it. This is it for me. And then we wrapped up undergrad, ended up moving out there.
Okay, so what did you pursue for your master's? And then you got to talk about what you pursue your master's and how did that get you here? Because that's a big change going from LA to Nashville. Big change. Because I feel like if I'm in LA and it's nice up there, why am I coming to Nashville?
Yeah, but you pay for it in the wallet.
Oh, okay. I see. So that's why a lot of people from California now is moving to Nashville because you're going to pay in LA.
Yeah, you're going to pay. I was paying $18 for a 1-bedroom at one point.
That's high. Is that why you was in college?
No, this was undergrad.
Okay. So I thought you did undergrad in Illinois.
Grad school.
Yeah. Grad school. Okay. So what did you pursue in grad, and how did that help you in your career choices that you're doing now?
So I applied to 5 different schools for grad school. I applied to CSUN, which is all schools in California. Okay. Cal State LA, Cal State Bakersfield, Cal State Dominguez Hills. Okay. Cal State Dominguez Hills was the only program that let me in. Okay. So I was lucky and thankful for that. I got in. This is in Carson, California, which is a part of LA. Okay. Got in, got under some great professors. Okay. Professors that really care. Cal State Dominguez Hills is actually the unofficial HBCU of Southern California.
I didn't know that.
Unofficially. Okay. Because, there's no HBCUs in California.
No, I didn't know that. Yeah. I didn't know that. So, okay.
Yeah. So I got in. I got under some great professors. They took their time with me. And I just got in willing to learn. Okay. And that's where I actually got my first teaching gig at was Cal State Dominguez Hills, teaching undergrad sociology as I'm getting my master's in sociology. Okay. So I have a master's in organizational leadership, so I didn't do sociology, so I didn't even know that. I should have did that pre-question with you, like, what do you get your degrees in? Because sociology is where you can really help people. And I feel like from your experiences, that works perfect for you because you want to help other people back. So from LA, how did you get to Nashville and your what you doing as a career right now? So I ended up wrapping up grad school, and I'm teaching undergrad there in the evenings as I'm teaching high school throughout the day. Okay. So I'm teaching my high schoolers, and I drive over to the campus at the school at the college, teach in the evening. From there, I ended up meeting my fiance, actually, my son's mom now. Okay. 2019. So I'm about 29 years old at the time then, and she moves to California with me. Okay. We have my son. One thing leads to another, and I'm like, okay, the cost of living out here is closing in on us. It's beautiful. It's cool. Yeah. You got the movie stars and all of that, but I'm already from Memphis. So I'm like, okay, that's my backup plan. We got to head back home. Yeah. Went back, got a teaching job at actually 4th and 5th graders I was teaching.
Okay.
Earlier this year. And where I am now is Tennesseans for Student Success. I'm actually the advocacy coordinator, one of two. My colleague, she works out of Memphis.
Okay.
Shelby County area. My area is Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
So us as an organization, we more so approach education reform from a policy standpoint. And try to reform some things around, slowly but surely getting things to the point where education is reformed, right? It's not what it used to be. It's not the old formulas that it used to be. And the bottom line is to get these graduation rates up.
Well, you need that because, like I said, most kids, especially kids growing without fathers, statistics shows that they won't graduate high school.
100%.
Because they are still trying to discover themselves. And I wish we had time to talk about why do most young kids who grow out of father don't have confidence in themselves. And you see just all the rates is going up with kids growing out of fathers. And that's why I'm such a big advocate for it, because sometimes I think we sweep it under the rug and we don't talk about it. But I want to use these platforms to continue to tell people that when kids don't have their dad at home, these are some of your problems. But then they say, well, what can you do? And that's why I say you're an advocate for it. I like to be a mentor to show you that you can have a better life. And those are things I think that I wish more and more people took serious. I think the things that's going on in the world, most of that stems from a father. And I don't think people believe that. I think early pregnancy comes from that. And so, because most dads going to protect their child the best way they can. Now, you can do all of this work and your child still go another way.
That's true.
I clearly know that. But one thing I think my parents did for us, they just told us the consequences. So if you go out here and do this, this was going to happen. And that scared me enough to try to steer me from a lot of things that goes on out here. So from you now, fiance, father and everything, what training do you have to know in your mind now of what I need to do? So when you're facing challenges, even with relationships, what do you usually go back to try to help you deal with relationship issues?
Honestly, I go back to my spirituality.
Okay.
I still don't have a blueprint, right? Nobody does. And by me still not having my dad, I'm here, we talk, and he's telling me what little bit he can give me.
Yeah.
Which is valuable, but you know, I find myself asking a lot of questions still. So I go back to my spirituality.
Okay.
What am I listening to? What am I eating? What am I putting in?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And what am I digesting? Right. I meditate a lot.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm not a big talker. So
No, you're not, man. Now I'm pulling you for this podcast. But let me ask you this then. Final thing is that when you preparing to get married, do you feel like I have enough knowledge of what I need to do as a man to take care of my family and take care of my wife? Because I know a lot of marriages seems to fail because either one or the two didn't have solid fathers training them.
Well, I know I have a solid foundation at least. And
okay.
I know the benefits of mental health, right? So doing premarital counseling. Me, I can't call my dad and say, Dad, I need some advice on that or this. So now I'm like, okay, we're gonna go to therapy.
Okay.
As both of us.
Okay.
Right. Because she didn't have her pops either. So we both dealing with what we working with what we can work with.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Well, I mean, do you think it's more trauma when kids don't have that? Or you think they traumatized by not having their dad?
Definitely more trauma. It changes your trajectory of everything.
Like how?
From what you think is normal.
Okay.
To now, you know, your perception of what you understand is normal is actually dysfunctional.
Okay.
And I had to unlearn a lot of stuff that I was taught about myself growing up in order to get to this point.
Well, that's a good thing. I didn't even think about it in that way, mainly because I see things on, and I had my program director, she always said, you see things one way. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of how I was raised. So now at 46, I do see things a little bit different. And why I do these podcasts is because you're telling the world, and we both laughed about this pre-show, is that I'm telling you my story, and you like, man, that's a world I wish I could have been in. And I'm looking at your story like, man, I don't even know nothing you're talking about. So it's, from black man to black man, we both in two different worlds. But one thing I can say from just doing this podcast, I'm glad you found a way to make it. And you found a way not to be a statistic. So do you have brothers and sisters that you talk with, or is it just you?
I do, man. I have two little brothers, 23 and 25.
Okay.
And I'm working hard to keep them on track.
So, because you feel like they're going the wrong way in life?
Not so much the wrong way. I was able to use football as a way to get me out of a lot of situations that I was trying to run from. Yeah. Foster homes and things like that. They didn't choose that football, that sports athletics route.
Okay.
Right. So they're working. They're on the right track, but we're just trying to keep them on the right track.
Yeah. So let me ask this last thing, and then Jim, we're done. Is that how did you feel that hole that was missing in your heart? I keep saying it because a young man who's on my podcast, he said that. And ever since he said that, it blew my mind that kids who grow out of father have a hole in their heart, and their hole has to get filled with something. So was football that hole that filled you, or what filled that hole in your life to get you to where you at now?
Attaining things that money can't necessarily buy. That's how I continue to feel it. It's not full. Like I said, grad school, I was like, okay, I got to get the master's. Now I'm like, I got to get the doctorate. Then I'll be complete. Mm-hmm. Right, it's just a constant. That's one of the drawbacks of not having your dad. I'm constantly trying to find ways of fulfillment.
Okay, Do you think that'll ever happen?
I don't think so. Because I think after I finish my doctorate, I'll find something else to be like, man. Then I'll be the man. Then
I doubt that, man. But when I got through with masters, I was done. Yeah. I'm still may pursue a doctorate, but it'll be not just so much. You could say I'm Dr. Marcus Benitez. It's the knowledge. I love knowledge. Like you said, I love reading, and I love to continue to find ways to push myself. That's why I say with organization, I'm trying to figure out what's the next thing to do. All right, after school is there, have a program director run it. What's the next thing? We build Stronger Sons up. That thing gets rolling. What's the next thing? So I'm always constantly want to challenge myself to continue to grow. That's why a podcast was new to me, and just keep trying to grow and grow. And just, I like to believe what Biggie said before he died, the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit of where you want to go in life. And I believe that's for you. And I think your story is amazing. I think you found a way to get out of it and to go to college and pursue everything you want to do, man. I honestly want to say I'm just proud that I know you as a friend and you're not a statistic. And because most kids in your situations, they wouldn't make it. So thank you for the time, man, and God bless you on everything you continue to do.
Thank you. I appreciate you too much.